Dallas Cowboys. Not just the emergence of their two rookie stars leading Dallas to a 7-1 record, but the looming question as to who will start at quarterback when Tony Romo is fully healthy. One would assume a decision has to be made soon. Jerry Jones, when will we have some answers?
We probably are never going to have this totally sorted out. We're going to play it by ear, play it as it comes. We can do that. And to do it really right for the advantage of the team, which we deserve, he's really got to be ready to go at the top of his game. We have the luxury of getting him that ready. I think what you're going to have is you're going to see Tony really playing well at practice, really being what he can be, which is, in my mind, when he's healthy, I don't know that I'd trade him for anybody.
So there's that. Two sources told our Ed Warder this morning that Romo's availability has moved from a medical decision to a coaching decision. Stephen A., is it more important to get rid of Romo?
Yes, it is. And the reason why I feel that way, and obviously we're not talking about right now, we're not talking about immediate, like next week or something like that, but it's clear that he wants to do everything he can to hold on to Tony Romo, to make sure that Tony Romo is still seen as the guy leading these troops. And the reality of the situation is the way Dak Prescott is playing, there's simply no excuse for for Jerry Jones to be saying the things that he said. Now, I'm not going to be hypocritical here. I'm going to remind my audience that just yesterday I was on the record pointing out how, you know, this is the great owner in sports in the NFL in particular because he bought a franchise for $140 million and now it's worth $4 billion. He constantly has them in the headlines. He generates publicity for them, hype for them, and ultimately marketing and sales dollars for them. So by virtue of that, I certainly have no problem with the owner. I have a problem with the wannabe president, the wannabe GM, the wannabe coach, et cetera, who's got no business making these kind of comments because you never know what kind of effect it's going to have on a Dak Prescott. We believe it will have no effect because Dak Prescott has been through a lot of adversity in his life, you know, evidenced by that wonderful feature ESPN did on him just a few days ago. We recognize the fact that this kid is poised, he's talented, he's a stud, he's playing ball, he deserves a lot of consideration for a lot of different things because he's special. But in the end, what it comes down to is that where's the consideration from the owner? Where's the appreciation from the owner? When you listen to Jerry Jones talk, you would think the Dallas Cowboys are perennial Super Bowl contenders when they actually have been perennially irrelevant. They haven't done anything for the vast majority of the last 22 years and counting. So for me, it's nauseating, it's disgusting, it gets on my damn nerves to listen to this man do everything that he can to elevate the stature of a Tony Romo, seemingly at the expense of a young kid who may very well need all the confidence in the world emanating from an owner who I'm told has barely spoken to Dak Prescott and given him the vote of confidence he deserves.
Stephen A. Smith, boy, have you read this all wrong. There's nothing against Dak Prescott here. It's not even really pro-Tony Romo. Jerry Jones finally is being smart about this. He's just being smart. He's keeping his options open. What was the problem coming into last season? Backup quarterback for the Cowboys, given Tony Romo's, at that point, recent injury history. Sure enough, he goes down. Hey, can any of these guys tread water, just win 2 out of the next 5 or 6 games? So when Romo... No, they couldn't. They were terrible without Romo. Yeah, they really need a backup quarterback because they got the O-line, they got the skills positions. If only that, then they draft Dak Prescott. Sure enough, Tony Romo goes down again, and it turns out Dak is so amazing, maybe he's not the backup. Oh, look at this. After a certain number of wins against 1 loss opening game, you know what? He's the starter. So why now get rid of your backup? The point is not who is the starter and who is the backup. The point is you got 2 excellent quarterbacks, and at the moment, Dak Prescott is the starter, and at the moment, you got a top-notch backup. Now, to the idea that they could even trade him, I know you didn't mean now, but certainly they can't. This was brought to my attention because we had this conversation, I don't know, a month ago or something like that. And a writer in Dallas who his name is buried in my mentions, Stephen A. Smith. I apologize to him. No, it wasn't Calishaw, it wasn't Blackstone, it wasn't any of the guys I know in Dallas, but pointed out, tweeted at me that the Cowboys actually can't trade Romo right now, and he was correct. Romo would be they just can't move the contract right now. At June 1st.
Yeah, we would never advocating right now. We would never advocating right now.
But you also can't really trade him for anything. What you can do is June 1st, 2017, coming up, you can cut him, and save $54 million against the cap over the next 3 years.
Fine, do that.
That is something you might want to do because he is an extremely expensive backup. And if you can't get anything for him anyway in a trade, fine, you can move him. But for the purposes of this season, you who think the Cowboys could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, you've answered your quarterback issue on, your backup quarterback issue and then some with 2 excellent quarterbacks. You want to somehow undo that before the end of the year?
Well, what I'm saying is you're doing it without Tony Romo. And I'm alluding to the future of the Dallas Cowboys, not the immediacy of the moment. I'm saying there's nothing you can do about this season, and there's nothing you should do about this season. We understand that. But speaking about Tony Romo in future tense, talking about him as if this is a good problem to have, and you know what, we don't know what we're going to do. How the hell do you not know what you're going to do? I remember when Dan Marino came on board, and I'm not comparing Dak Prescott to Dan Marino, even though Dak Prescott is a bad boy. There's only one Dan Marino now. And when he came into the league, he hit it by storm. I think it was Don Strock he succeeded. I'm not sure, but I think that was who was quarterbacking the Miami Dolphins back in the mid-'80s when Dan Marino ultimately took over. When he took over and he wreaked havoc, you know what happened? Don Shula was like, that's our guy. The future has arrived. It's one thing to sit up there and to say, we're going to keep Tony Romo. He's too talented. He's done enough for this organization. I value him. I'm going to keep him around. It's another thing having won 7 straight, being the #1 seed in the NFC, knowing that if you continue on this path, the road to the Super Bowl must go through Dallas. It's another thing entirely to sit up there and act like there's a discussion about who this job belongs to and who's the real quarterback of this team right now, and debating whether or not the future has indeed arrived. It is clear, and I think that at some point in time, Dak Prescott deserves that kind of support from the Dallas Cowboys as an organization, and in particular Jerry Jones.
I agree he deserves support, and if you didn't have Romo on the bench, it would be a no-brainer. But Romo is such an excellent quarterback when healthy. I think you underrate him. He's such an excellent quarterback that
during the regular season,
Jerry Jones wants to keep his options open. For instance, neither you nor I think this will happen. And you could see Dak had something from preseason. He said, that looks like an NFL quarterback to me. And he has done nothing to dissuade anyone from that point of view since then. He is excellent. Right. But he is a rookie. Rookies can hit rookie walls. Teams can game plan for them differently, and their effectiveness can diminish. Maybe Romo's looking amazing in practice to the point where they have... Look, it's not inconceivable, and I know everyone's going to say, oh, you're being a Giants homer, but it's not inconceivable, given the Giants and the Cowboys' schedule, that by the time Dallas gets to MetLife for that showdown, Giants already beat them week 1. If the Giants win that game, they could wrap up the division. So that's not inconceivable. It's not like a 5% chance. It's something way more than that. And if that starts to happen, if it starts to go sideways a little for Dak and the Cowboys, and Romo looks amazing, Jerry Jones wants to make sure his options are available, that he hasn't done anything to undermine the confidence of Tony Romo or even make the fan base think that maybe that couldn't happen. I don't blame him for doing that. I actually think that at this moment is a smart play. Now, if he's doing that next season and they haven't cut Romo and they have all that money on the books and they're still not giving it over to Dak, then I'm with you. But right now, I like what Jerry Jones is doing.
Here's your problem. Your problem is that you're dissecting things and compartmentalizing it and talking about time. If he does it next year, then it would be a problem. But doing it now is not the issue. When the problem with Jerry Jones is he's always Jerry Jones. These are the kind of things he always does. You can literally predict what he's going to do next year and the year after and the year after because of what he does.
Romo going to be on the team next year? I say he won't be. I say Romo will not be on the team next year.
What I'm saying to you is that if he's not on a team, it's because Jerry Jones is looking at his money. That's about it. He's not thinking about the fact, I got a stud. The future has arrived. I'm good. He's the kind of person that he gets attached to who he wants to get attached to, and the only thing that truly compromises his thought process are dollars and cents.
I really look forward to you and Jerry Jones sitting together. I could just see it in the same booth one day.
I would love it.
And chopping this up, Stephen A.
I would love it.
Because I don't think it'll come down to dollars and cents other than it'll come down to the dollars and cents under the cap.
I'd like to remind Jerry Jones.
You got to watch all those dollars and cents.
I'd like to remind Jerry Jones that this same Tony Romo, that's his adopted son, has won a grand total of 2 playoff games for him in his entire career. You need to win 3.